I have an image of a cat that I like to use in my videos, and I would like to have it have different expressions. So we're going to create an automation where we take an image and we modify its prompt, and then we create a new image based on the prompt. We'll apply a number of emotions to the original image one at a time, such as happy, sad, fearful, embarrassed, until we have a stable of modified images. A viewer asked me if I could show how to create ChatGPT images and then store them in a Google Sheet. So we're going to do that. We're going to create a couple of Google Sheets, which will control what we ask for from the automation, and then output the results as images and links, as well as saving the prompt. In this case, you can see that we got back image prompt to update. This was actually the prompt, and that metadata did not belong there, but it was used because I didn't catch it. After we do that in Google Sheets, we'll do the same thing in Airtable, and I'll show you some of the advantages of using Airtable over Sheets, one of which is that you can see all of your images from your control center. You can see the fact that you've already done fearful, disgusted, happy, angry, proud, and you can see each one of those. So for example, if I don't like disgusted, I might remove that and regenerate it. And that is clean. It's a clean way of doing it, whereas in Google Sheets, it's a lot harder because it's not a database. So in Airtable, here we have all of our images as individual rows. But then over in the control center, each of those images that belongs to the first row are in one field that we can look at as a gallery. And we did that using linked data, which I will show you in this automation. But we'll start with doing it in Google Sheets. So our sheet has two subsheets in it. The image seed table has a seed prompt, the image name, emotion, and process. So the seed prompt is the original image that I took the background out of. So the results we get today don't have an instruction to remove the background. And we're going to call this the cat image. And then I created a variation of it, which is supposed to be the kitten image, and it appears to be the cat one. So we're just going to say kitten throughout, because apparently I pasted in the cat one. So the cat image is the first one, and the kitten image is the second one. And we're going to assign emotions to each of them so that you can see what it's like to cycle through a bunch of rows as well as the emotions. In the Google Sheet, we'll store all of our output in the image emotion table, and it will store what was requested from image seed. So in the first case, we asked for a cat and giddy, and in the second one, we said a kitten and angry. We got a cat that was angry because of the prompt was a copy and paste, and I forgot to edit it. And you can see the link to Google Drive as well. So it's stored up on the drive. So the automation looks like this. First, we're going to store our ChatGPT key in a field called auth, and the value of that is bearer and then your key right there. The second thing we'll do is create a task prompt, and that says we are creating variations of a brand image, and you can get this from the link in the description, so I'm not going to read it. But the important part here is rewrite this image creation prompt so that it maintains the cat's, the subject's, essential physical features, but alters the subject's body, language, and expression to convey the emotion, and then there is a placeholder for what we get from the sheet. Then we have a role prompt, which is you are expert at creating image creation prompts with exquisite detail, and an assistant prompt, which you can see did not work in the previous iteration, which is your output is part of an automation, so you must output the requested data and nothing else. When we want to run our automation, we will search for those rows in the image seed sheet that have a process where the checkbox is checked, and that comes up to us as process as true, and we're doing a case insensitive search. And then we're aggregating the results. So let's say we get two results, which we will. We'll put both of those into an array so that we can iterate through it. So you can iterate through the bundle that Google Sheets returns, but I've been caught too many times in bundle errors, and so I always use an aggregator and then an iterator. So the iterator is going to grab the array, and now we're going to iterate over first row for the cat, giddy, and then the second row for the kitten, angry. So we'll call OpenRouter, and this allows us to call a bunch of different AI models. And to create a key, you're going to create an OpenRouter account and then put your API key in a connection. And then we'll give it a user prompt, which is going to be the task prompt, where we're asking for the emotion of whatever comes in from the sheet, and this is going to be angry. So emotion is angry in the first case. At least it was the last time that we read it. And then we have a user role, which is is image prompt to update, and this is our original seed prompt that created the original image that we're copying and then altering. And then the system prompt is you are an exquisitely detailed image prompt creator. And I'm using a free model DeepSeek v3. Enable fallback means that if it fails, OpenRouter will try to go to other models that are the same cost or cheaper. So in this case, the same cost. And we are not outputting in JSON. And we have a max tokens and all the usual defaults. This has a break, an error handler of type break, where we automatically complete execution is set to no. So if we have an error, we just stop and fix the error. We don't go on to any other modules. After we create the new prompt, we check to see that we in fact got a prompt. So we check that the output has choices and then message and then content, and that's our new prompt, which has metadata in it, but I only had it at 500 tokens, so that might be why. So our filter checks to see that the message, that the router came back with a new prompt, and then we run the prompt, and that's going to happen in this HTTP request, where the URL is the OpenAI v1 image generator, the method is post, the authorization is the bearer token that we set up in the auth set variable, the name is, the content type is application JSON, the body type is raw. The content type is JSON application JSON. I think I have that twice. So it's in the headers and then it's in the body. Well, it works, so we're leaving it. The model is GPT-image-1. The prompt is the prompt that the AI just created for us. The size is 1024 by 1536. Go to the link in the description for the OpenAI page that has the parameters that you're allowed to use in your prompt for this model. The quality is set to high and the number of images N is set to 1, and we are parsing the response. And this also has a full stop break. Then we're going to save the image on Google Drive. There's a link in the description for how to connect to Google Drive. And I'm just sending them to a temporary folder. The new file name is empty. And then the name of the image is going to be lowercase, then the word Carol hyphen, the image name, which is going to be cat or kitten. So image name is kitten in this case. The emotion, which is the angry, and then a timestamp of now.png. So that gives us a unique image. So if we run this again, we won't overwrite our file names. Then the data is going to be the toBinary function, where we feed it the base64 JSON that we got back from our image creator, and we feed that an argument of base64 so that it turns into a form that Google Drive will recognize as an image. When that's done, we're going to store what we did in Google Sheets. On the second sheet in the image emotion, we'll create a row that contains the emotion requested, the name of the type of image, the cat or kitten, the prompt that created the image, and image command or image function, which is equal image parentheses quotation, and then the downloadable version on Google Drive, and then a link to the viewable version on Google Drive. So that looks like this. The emotion is coming from the sheet request. The image name is coming from the sheet request. The prompt is coming from the output of the DeepSeek AI. Here's the equals image and the web content link. And then the image link is the link as opposed to the viewable image, and that's the web view link. So we've done a giddy and an angry. Let's make both of them proud. So the kitten is proud and the cat is proud. And let's run through. Oh, and when this runs for each request, so this iterator is going to run through the cat prompt, and then it'll run through the kitten prompt. So after it creates the first image, which it's doing now, it'll save it and put it in the sheet, and then we'll loop back around because there's another record in the array, and that'll be the kitten prompt. We'll create the kitten, that'll be the kitten request, and then we'll create the kitten prompt, create the kitten image, save that in Google Drive, save it in Google Sheets, and then the second loop will be done, and we will have two images, two new images. Those rows will be added to our Google Sheet. I don't know what we just have there. Okay. So unfortunately, we still have, for some reason, that in the output. I find that very weird. I wonder if I have a typo in my prompt. A semi-realistic digital illustration of a silver tabby cat with bold black stripes, piercing amber eyes, upright at a bit. Yeah, this is the proud prompt. Cat wears, the overall composition radiates pride and accomplishment. So this is the output prompt, but it keeps giving us image prompt to update. So we will take a look at that. Okay, so now we have a proud cat and we have a proud kitten. That's pretty cute. They kind of look a little bit serious, but proud is good. It's close. So let's go look at why we have, so our request for, we want to look at the output. Okay, so the input to our prompt creator, we're creating variations of a brand image. She wants to place variations of the cat. For example, when something goes wrong, the cat will appear shocked. When something goes well, it will appear pleased. The videos are software tutorials. Rewrite write this image creation prompt so that it maintains the subject's essential physical features, but alters the subject's body language and expression to convey the emotion, proud. Image prompt to update. That's an input. This is the original prompt, not the changed one. It just thinks it seems to need to bring image prompt to update. And then the third one was the system prompt. You're an expert at creating images. And then our output was a prompt which contains that image prompt to update, which is unfortunate. Okay, so we'll look at that. Okay, so now we've done, this is how you use Google Sheets and make automation to create ChatGPT images using the latest model, gpt-image-1, and store the prompts and the images in Google Sheets. Now let's do the same thing in Airtable. So in Airtable, we have two tables, also image seed and image emotion. The image seed is the record ID. The seed prompt is the original prompt, either about the cat or changed to be about the kitten. And let's make sure this one is a kitten. Okay. And then that's a long text. And then the emotions is a multiple select, which allows us to add as many emotions per run as we want per image. So instead of, like we did in Google Sheets, we ran one emotion, giddy or proud. In this version in Airtable, we can run multiple emotions like angry, proud, happy, and each one of these is a loop, and each one of these is a new record in the image emotion table. So the image emotion table is actually where everything is stored. This is the fearful cat. So you see how we have image emotion ID, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those, and then the kitten has 2 images in the other table. So the first one is REC, or let's say REC-RAP is our image seed, and let's search for that. And here we have REC in the fearful one, the disgusted one, the happy one, the angry one, and the proud one. That's your link back to the dashboard. It's also how we got all of the images to show up in one gallery for that row, and the kitten images show up in their gallery for that row. It's also how we got these automatic population of the emotions that have already run. So fearful, disgusted, happy. So if I'm running this again and I see that I already ran angry, then I'm going to get rid of that. I already ran proud. I already ran happy. I haven't done lonely yet. Let's say I haven't done sad. I probably won't. I don't really want those, but they're emotions, so I added them. And we already have happy and angry for the kitten. So we'll say confused, and we'll do embarrassed. So when we run this next time where the process is checked, then we're going to actually have a run of 4 image creations, 2 for the cat, 2 for the kitten. And let me show you how to create the link to the other table. It's harder to show you this in a living table, so we're going to duplicate both tables, remove the links, and then add them back in so I can show you. So we'll duplicate both records, or both tables. We'll unhide the fields, and we've got a seed prompt, image name, emotions, process. Okay, and then these are all linked, so we're going to remove them and then put them back in. Delete 4 fields, and then we'll go to our image emotion copy, look at our hidden fields, and the image name is a link, so we'll get rid of that and put it back in. And the image seed ID, we'll get rid of those 2. So let's put them back in. So in order to see that nice data, we're going to do a link. We're going to do a link to another record. We're in the image seed table, and we're going to link to the image seed copy table. We're going to link to, all right, let's change these names. This is primary, and this is secondary. We're in the primary table. We're creating a new column. It's a link to a different record. We're linking to secondary. We're linking, just did that, link to secondary, and we're allowing linking to multiple records create field. What do we want to link to? The image emotion ID, in other words, the ID column of the secondary table, and we'll add that field. So that creates 2 fields. One is called secondary, and the other one is called image emotion ID from secondary. Then in the secondary table, we're going to create a new column. We'll insert left here, and it's going to be a lookup. We are looking up in the primary table, and the field we're looking up is the image name. Now, the reason that we don't have any data yet is because we have not linked the 2 tables together, and that's because we have not created any records. These are the original records, so let's get rid of these. So when we come in from our automation and we create a record, let's say we're doing a cat who's proud, what we're going to be doing is adding the image seed ID from the primary record into our image records. So we'll put image seed copy, we'll get our link, primary will get our link. Do that again. Okay, so primary will get our link, or we'll get our ID of the primary table, and that will then look up the image name from our primary table and populate it in image name. And in our primary table, it will populate any fields that we add here. So let's do a lookup, and let's go to secondary and choose the image field and click create. And then in our secondary table, let's go get an image. In our secondary table, we're coming in from the automation and we're adding our image. So we populate the image, we populate the primary key of the primary table, and the primary table then gets a lookup of that image. We're going to do this again for the emotions. So let's populate the emotion. Let's say this was, I think it was fear, or it doesn't matter. So we populated from the automation with fear, and then we go back to the primary table and we say, give me a lookup where the lookup source is secondary and the field is emotion, and then display them for me here on the primary table, and that's how you got fear. And that is how you got cat going in reverse, because the tables are linked and it's getting the image name from the primary table, which is cat. And you'll be able to see that because if I were to change this to ABCD in emotion, then I guess I only typed AB, but then you'd get, there it is, ABCD would populate there. So what we're typing in the other fields in the other table is populating here. Now let's go see how the automation does that. So we have another automation in Make, and the first thing we'll do is populate our API key for ChatGPT. So go to the link in the description for instructions on how to do that. You'll put your bearer key, you'll put your key right after the word bearer and then space. And then we'll check our Airtable, primary table, for checkboxes where process equals true, and that's where this checkbox is on. So we'll find both the cat and the kitten requests in, well, let's go back to our original table. That's just our test table. So cat and kitten, proud, sad, angry, lonely, right? Okay. And then we'll aggregate the rows that came in, 1, 2, 3, whatever. We're turning them into an array of rows, and we're grabbing all of the cells that we received. Then we're going to iterate over the prompt requests. So for each prompt, cat, next prompt, kitten, and then there's an inner loop, and that's for each emotion. So the way this works is for each prompt, cat, for each emotion, proud, and we'll run cat proud. And then the inner loop will run again, and that'll be cat sad, and we'll run the cat sad image. Then we're done with the emotions for that record, so we'll go back to the outer loop, and we'll get the next row, which is kitten, and for each emotion, the first emotion is angry, so kitten angry, and then we'll loop around the emotion, and we'll do kitten lonely, and then when we're done with that, there are no more records, and the automation will stop. So first we'll take our seed prompt, and we will tell the automation that it is an expert at creating image creation prompts, and that we want it to create a version of the prompt we're giving it with the value coming in from our emotion, which is angry. So this is the loop, the inner loop, and it's telling us what the current emotion is. And the outer loop is telling us what the current record request is. And then we have another prompt, which is the seed prompt to rewrite, and then your output is part of an automation, and then DeepSeek 3, and 3, we don't need to be cheap on the tokens, so 4096. And I have been playing around with temperature, and we'll see how that goes. And then we have a break error handler on our image prompt creator. If you say yes to automatically complete, you can retry. But if we get an error from our prompt creation, I just want the whole thing to stop. So I say no to automatically complete. And then I have a filter that says, did we get a prompt back from our AI? And if we did, you can continue, and then you'll go to the image creation. The image creation is the API endpoint in the URL. The method is post. The header authorization is the auth key that we have bearer space in the set variable. The content type is application JSON. And then in the body, the type is raw. Then I have a content type of JSON application again. I don't know if I need both of those, but it works, so I'm leaving it. And the request content is this JSON, where the model is GPT-1. The prompt is the prompt we just created. The size is one of the legal sizes. Quality is high and is 1, and we do parse the response. Then we save the image to Google Drive, where we don't give it a file name. We do give it, we're going to change this, we do give it a name from our variable. So in the for each emotion, we have the value of angry, so we're going to plop that in here. So 77, we already had we just need whether it's a cat or kitten. So that would be image name, and that's coming from each prompt. Is it me? Oh, we don't have image name because I added it. So we can't do that yet. We'll just have to put cat back here. But the next time through, when we have data here that shows us that we have an image name, then we'll automatically add it, whether it be cat or kitten. It will be dynamic. And then we'll make a binary of our base 64. Then we're going to create the syntax that the Airtable wants in order to create this image. So it's an attachment. And in order to satisfy what it needs, which is an array of JSON objects, first we're going to couch the URL of the web content link in a JSON object where we have a key of URL and a name, or a name of URL and a value of web content link. And notice the quotes. And then we're going to pull that puppy up into an array aggregator, which is going to create the array syntax that Airtable module wants in order to send a URL to an attachment in make. And then we're going to update the image emotion table. So that's our images table. The value of the emotion comes from the for loop. The value of the image prompt comes from the first AI call. The image is that AI, or rather that array of URL that we just created, that we Frankenstein together there. The image link is the web content link, and the image seed ID is how we link the tables, and we're putting the ID of the record that made the call, so image seed, this value in the first column, image seed ID, and we're placing that in the image seed ID, I think it's the image seed ID, yeah, just image seed ID column, and that will give us all these lovely links that give us this nice dashboard effect of all these images and emotion keywords. So let's run this puppy. So we've got proud, sad, angry, lonely. So we're going to run 4 times, 2 loops of 2 records each. Okay, we ran through all 4 loops and we have a successful ending, and our Airtable, we added proud and sad to the cat. Let's go look at proud and sad. There's proud, and that's interesting. This one's proud as well from an earlier run. And the sad cat, oh no. And then we added, what was it, angry and lonely to the kitten. So we have angry, very angry, and we have lonely. Oh my goodness, I'd be angry too. Okay, so now you know not only how to store images in Google Sheets, but you also know how to use Airtable for a much cleaner dashboard experience. And you can use either one depending on how you feel about the situation. So you now know how to create images using a seed prompt, change the prompt according to some variable like an emotion, save that image as a viewable item in Airtable, also save it on Google Drive, and you can do this in either Airtable or Google Sheets.